Wonderful. Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining us and welcome to Workshop 04. All right, so also for people with different abilities and any situations where you couldn't come up or you can't be here in person, we will be recording all of these, putting it on YouTube, and soon we'll have the closed captioning, which has been a whole process figuring that out, but we're going to get closed captioning as well so everyone can watch or read along. So, yeah, thank you. So, key dates for Streetwise and all of our activations and projects. Today is the Augmented Reality class. Tomorrow we're going to be going into NFTs, the metaverse, VR, and other kinds of Web3 technology, blockchain technology. With IRL Art, we've been doing a lot of projects with the Web3 communities and have a lot of great resources to share about that. So if you guys would like to join us tomorrow, we'll be hosting it in person at the IRL Art Gallery in Rhino, or virtually here as well with the Zoom link. So we'll share some links, and that's also in the Streetwise bio if you'd like to apply and sign up. So going forward, and then, it says September 16th. This is the wrong date. What's the final date for the projection mapping? Was it the 28th?
That would be 28th, yep.
All right. You heard it. Don't look at that number right there. It's the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, and then Streetwise Boulder will be going on through the 29th through the 2nd with some activities before and after leading up to that. So, yeah, all right. So we're going to be learning about the different kinds of AR this time. I kind of did a breakdown, but we're going to go down even deeper and establish different kinds and what they mean. And then also break down different software and their features. And then after that, we're going to be doing multiple Artivive demonstrations, kind of start to finish, of taking an art piece and then finishing it. And also, I want to show you guys the 3D Pro feature through Artivive this time, where you can add layers and do a lot cooler things than just uploading a single piece of art. Continuing. So let's go over the list of these AR programs again. The main one that we are going to be talking about is Artivive. It's an AR app for artists. It's a very simple tool. You can upload 2D videos or 2D video layers to create 3D spaces or a scene. And I'll show you guys some examples of that shortly. Spark AR is one of the next ones, and that's what Instagram and Facebook use for their filter systems. So any of the face tracking, the app tracking, there's a lot of really crazy tools. This runs through Facebook and Instagram, and isn't as accessible as some of the other ones, depending on which direction you want to go. Adobe Aero is Adobe's 3D program that they've built, and it's pretty convenient, and it is more of a file management system, so you can send someone this 3D file, and they'll be able to open it up. And same with USDZ. USDZ is an Apple-based 3D system that they've built for their smartphones, where you don't need an app. As long as you have an iPhone, you can download the USDZ file, and it will open up through this program called apple.xyz, where they've built an integrated AR viewing system directly into their software. So you don't need to download anything. It's built into every single iPhone. The problem with that, though, is if you have an Android phone, it does not work. So we're going to be discussing all these elements of accessibility and how they correspond with what you're trying to do. And that brings on to Spheroid as well, which is a completely different kind of AR, which goes over geolocational tracking, where you identify a space on the planet where it'll pop up. There are two main categories of AR. It's marker-based and markerless-based. And all these different programs offer different features, but pretty much a marker-based AR piece is similar to what Sierra Born has done here. It's a two-dimensional marker image like this picture here, that's recognized by the program and projects an image onto the surface. And that's that marker based. It identifies an object and fills that space. 2D or 3D artwork can cover up the existing area, but it's identifying it through the image that you upload. Some programs with this trait is Artivive, Spark AR, and Adobe Aero. And this is what Artivive uses. It's the most rudimentary and simple way of utilizing AR, where it recognizes the image in its inventory, or you're scanning a QR code to tell your phone you're trying to activate this specific piece, and once it knows where it's at, it'll then position the shape. As you can see, it doesn't pull up a flat image, it actually changes the perspective to fit the exact marker or image.
So the image is almost like a QR code.
Exactly.
That is recognized.
That's a great way to put it, and and certain programs work different ways with that, of how it identifies that. So yes, it's pretty much like the image turns into a QR code, which makes it very convenient for viewers, where they don't have to scan something or type a link in.
That's using Artivive, their app.
Yes.
An Android or Apple app that you have.
Yeah. So once I go through the actual types of AR, I'll do a little breakdown on what that means in terms of the features of each program. So next is markerless AI, and here's another great local artist example from Chris Haven, where he was able to place the object randomly. He was able to pull it up on his phone and allowed him to pretty much place the object somewhere and then walk around it and move around it. One of the big differences between markerless and markered AI is when you're using the marker AI, the object has to be on the screen for it to identify the object. With markerless, it pretty much places it and can roughly identify the floor or some kind of feature that it can kind of lock itself to. That's the projection-based tracking. There's also, though, the geolocational tracking, and I think that's a better way of describing and showing the differences between that and markered AI. Geolocational tracking, you actually enter a coordinate point on a globe, and it uses a GPS system similar to how your phone knows where you are at, and it can place the 3D object there, where then if a person walks into that area, they'll be able to see the AR on their phone. Sometimes, though, like Spheroid, which is one program that does that, you will require a QR code or an app that you got to download to view it. It's not like you can just point your camera. There really aren't very many convenient ways of doing that yet. And there are some ways, but it's all coding. It's very technical. It's very complicated. But that's where I want to show you guys the different stages in the AR software. Like the marker AR is very simple. It identifies an object. But with markerless AR, it's using different ways of identifying shape and space to place the object. So it's a few more levels of difficulty and tools that they have to make this.
Do you know what is being used at the Denver Botanic Garden? Is that marker based? Based on location.
Yeah, so yes, ones at the Botanical Garden are all through a geolocationally tracked program, where they are able to identify where the building is, where the height of the floor is, and place it with pretty much actual coordinates, 0.0 longitude, latitude. And that's how you can actually place it. The whole world becomes kind of a three-dimensional model with an X, Y, Z coordinates. So it's very interesting. And so that's the geolocational tracking. The projection-based tracking is kind of what we see here in this video, where it can identify the floor. It's actually using AI technology and some basic LiDAR sensors that are in your phone, similar to the things that can detect when your face is in front of your phone. It knows roughly that it's a face shape. So it's using this AI technology to identify surfaces and that helps the computer scale the object and help place the object. Some of them are really cool because you can, once you place the object, it'll actually create a drop shadow, for example, where it'll make it look like the object is really there. So that's where that markerless AI software is great, where you can randomly place objects anywhere. Great example of this is Acertre, who creates these beautiful 3D models and then is able to drag and drop them real time anywhere when he's on hikes. And that's where the USDZ file is a great example of a markerless AR piece, because it's just a 3D object that he's able to drag and drop anywhere without having to open it in a program, without having to line it up XYZ in software. It just identifies the floor and he's able to just drop it. So that's a very convenient way, but again, it's only Apple compatible with that USDZ file. And also the face tracking. This is another markerless AR. Instead of 4 points, an image that identifies the marker, it's identifying random shapes, like the contour of your face or where your shoulders are at. So this is another example where they're using AR technology to identify the shape, the size, and the position of where objects will be placed. And this technology will continue to advance where we won't even have to think about it. You know, you'll click on the image soon and it'll figure out exactly where on the floor it should go. And when you wave your hand in front of it, it'll know your hand's in front of it rather than behind it. A lot of this technology is coming out, especially with the LiDAR sensors that are in phones. The one thing that I should say about markerless AR is a lot of this technology is a little bit newer, so a lot of the older phone models are not compatible with this. Some of them require that LiDAR 3D scanner sensors that not all smartphones have. So when you're picking out which AR software or direction you want to go into, make sure that you're considerate of who's actually going to be interacting with your product. Now a little better breakdown on the different programs. Okay, so I guess I started with Spheroid here, but Spheroid is a very advanced system, and this is the geolocationally tracked piece, where in Spheroid you actually buy a coordinate. This is all in blockchain, where they've created a 3D model of the entire planet, and pretty much you can buy a parcel so you can have access to upload 3D content. There are some people here in Colorado, actually, Digi Landgrab is an amazing project where they're creating the resources to do AR content for free, and it's rogue. You know, this way with Spheroid, they've been able to monetize it to support their development, their business, and it's actually a really great team that we've worked with before. But there are some free options as well. Spheroid we wanted to talk about just because of all the really creative features that we've seen inside of it beyond just uploading a piece of art. For example, in this video here, this was done by Jessica Angel. I believe this is in Montreal, but she is an amazing digital designer and coder and creator, and she actually built all these custom tools and features so that not only can you connect your crypto wallet and win things, but you can also click on things, interact with it, and have a really dynamic experience with moving parts and pieces, which takes your ability to do storytelling and convey projects and ideas to a whole new level, you know, where it's not just a 3D object spinning in the air. Suddenly it's these interactive elements, and it's all geolocationally tracked. So it's like, hey, I just found this prize. It's telling me to go to this other spot in the city. It's also geolocationally tracked, and I can't go to that spot until I lock the first one. So there's all this really creative mechanisms that, you know, maybe an artist might not see the immediate use for, but in terms of how this can apply to civic level art programming or schools or different ways of education, there's going to be a lot of use And we're going to see a lot more of this in the future as well.
So there's something in Snapchat where you can purchase a geolocation for an ad.
Yes.
So this is similar.
Yeah.
You're paying money to actually buy that location for a period of time.
Exactly. Yeah, so I don't know if the people on the call heard, but mentioned that Snapchat offers that feature as well, where you can geolocationally purchase a plot for advertising. This is the exact same thing. That might just be with the Web 2 world rather than on the blockchain, which is why we've been working with some of these projects. But there's a lot of options out there for this kind of thing, and we've been seeing a lot of these. It's pretty much like rogue sculpture work, or they call it like AR tagging, where people will put a giant sculpture in the center of the Parliament building, where they would never get access to, but there's no permissions required, or even there's no process to make that happen or get someone in trouble for it. So there's very creative ways that artists can not have to go through that permitting process to put some really impactful work up. So, and Spheroid is a great example where I feel like a lot of the AR examples, big AR examples people have seen, a lot of them come from Spheroid. And they have an amazing community and group that work with them as well.
Is there anybody in Boulder doing that?
I'm not sure how many people in Boulder do AR, but we probably have.
Well, I mean Spheroid.
Oh no, that's something that maybe a little later after the presentation we can go into Spheroid and see what properties are available and stuff like that, so we can get the full flow. So the next AR series or tool is Spark AR. This is the one that Facebook and Instagram make. The accessibility for this is pretty high in terms of the fact that most people have Facebook or Instagram. So that makes it very convenient where people don't have to download anything more. But not many people are familiar with the story mode or these different processes for actually pulling up those cameras. It is pretty handy because you can make a QR code for people to pull up your filter in effect. But again, they have to have Facebook or Instagram. And I've run across this a lot of times where people don't do social media, but they have a smartphone and all the tools. So that's where, really choosing which program and what kind of accessibility you want is very important. That's why with Streetwise we've chosen Artivive, just because it was the most straightforward way to get people of all ages, of all cultures to come in and be able to interact with it conveniently. But Spark AR has some of the most extensive tools available for AR. They've made it very convenient. This is what their homepage looks like, where you can set up a template for any of these effects. Whether it's a 3D object for a head decoration, whether it's a two-dimensional skin for a face mask. This is a lot more for filters, but they also have, like right here, the 3D animated poster. That is just your standard marker object AR style, where it identifies the four corners, the image inside, and it projects the image. So Spark AR can do not only that marker-based AR, but all this kind of markerless-based AR, like a world object, where it just lets you place it anywhere. This system, it's kind of like a 3D modeling program. So that's why I stated that it is for intermediate to advanced users, just because it's not as straightforward. You do need to have some understanding of like 3D modeling and spatial parameters, because you have to actually place it in a three-dimensional space when you're working with these kind of filters.
So would this be similar to the point when you started in the mural that was just a marker based, and like through that Instagram or Facebook, if you went there, it would register that animation?
So that's the thing. You would have the thing with Spark AR, and why I've only used it for very specific applications is like you can have a QR code somewhere that people can pull up the effect on their phone. But that's like, it's not like you just point your camera and if you have Facebook or Instagram, it works. You have to either. Also, the other great way to access it is if you follow someone. I'm not sure if anyone here uses the Instagram story mode much, but there's the filters at the bottom that you can scroll through. Those filters are made by people that you follow. So sometimes it's kind of inconvenient because if the people don't follow you, the filter won't show up. But they have made it where you can put up a QR code and it will pull up the filter. It's just one extra step. And if someone isn't native with Facebook or with the story mode or the filter tools, they're going to get really confused very quickly. And it's about making sure you eliminate any unnecessary steps. And that's why for marker-based AR, that's why we are promoting Artivive right now, because we just need it to do the two-dimensional overlay. We don't need the 3D effects. We don't need the face filters. So we're going to choose the program that's the most convenient for our users at this point. So yeah, accessibility, they can be accessed through QR code link or following someone on the social media. Yeah, and these also take some time to upload. They have to go through some kind of formal process to make sure it's not inappropriate or up to their code for
like
Facebook.
an approval process by Facebook.
Exactly. And I've noticed that this one does take a lot longer than something like Artivive. So moving on, I'm just going to briefly cover Adobe Aero, which is another great tool for that markerless based AR. Adobe Aero is a pretty simple system. It's also a three-dimensional kind of program, but that's where you can build your object, build your scene, and pretty much export it as a file. And that file is what you can send people. From Adobe Aero, if you download the app, you can actually view those files offline, which is very interesting. A lot of the times, like Spark AR, Artivive, you've got to be connected to the computer for it to find the information in the database to pull up. But Adobe Aero has been fun to use because if you download the app and upload your files there, you'll be able to actually open up your file and do that markerless-based AR where you can place your object anywhere without internet. It's just a file on your phone. So that, if you're like hiking in the mountains and you're displaying cool stuff in the mountains, for example, you can't bring, and you don't have Wi-Fi, this would be a great chance to get those kind of shots or videos. Or, if you're at a music festival and there's no internet access, just because there's so many people there, being able to know a way to do it offline is very convenient and has helped a lot. I'm not exactly sure what Adobe Aero is all allowed on or what the most recent or latest phone model is can actually use it, but Adobe Aero has been around a while, and I think their goal is to try to make some of the basic tools of AR as accessible as possible, online and offline. So that's really why I wanted to mention Adobe Aero, was because of that offline ability.
Would you recommend to start like using
For 3D stuff,
Mhm.
absolutely. It's a great place to start. Again, like I've only used it a couple times just because the application we were trying to do did not have internet where I was doing that. So I had to find a solution, and that's where we found Adobe Aero. Like, okay, this will work. Is it the most convenient? No. One thing that I mentioned here for my pro tip is it's hard to place the object for beginners and non-tech savvy types. I would say either assist them in like placing the 3D object somewhere, or use a marker-based AR tool. When getting people to understand the three-dimensional space is a little difficult sometimes. And especially when that first step, when it's trying to figure out where the floor is, the object is like transparent and it's just kind of floating. And then you have to click to place it. And if you click really far off in the distance, it'll place it really far off in the distance because the computer has created this plane and it thinks you're trying to place it far away. So sometimes Adobe Aero and along with Spark AR, that markerless-based AR is sometimes a little hard to use for the average user.
Yeah, and sometimes if it's like a painting, you have to place it on the wall, and it's hard to get it to anchor to the wall. Is what I
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where it's like, yeah, it's tricky to make sure that it pops up in the right spot. Or sometimes in the 3D model, it's to the left of you, and you're trying to place it. So there's a lot of different, especially once you get into the three-dimensional stuff, that's when there's all these little things of like, oh, it's 1,000 times too big, or it should be rotated right rather than left. So there's a lot of those little technical things that you get into.
I think Google Arts and Culture, their app, does that. It's really hard to place it.
Yes.
Sometimes,
Yeah, I have messed around with the Google Arts and Culture, and yeah, it's not intuitive yet, you know. Soon it'll be like, oh, there's a wall and a floor, we'll just place it right here. But right now you have to kind of do that manually with some of these programs like Adobe Aero. So, but it looks great. We were able to upload some pretty large file types in there as well. So for animated pieces, 3D files that are more than just an object. Knowing about this technology and the different ways that you can upload it is really important. If, let's say, your file type's not compatible with the one that you want, what's the next best option? So that's why we really wanted to do a deeper dive on all these different programs. And last but not least is Artivive, which is what we're going to be diving more into. Artivive is an amazing tool. It's very convenient, and they have one free upload when you make your account. To get like the pro account, it's not very much. I believe it's like $10 a month or even less. But with this, you're able to upload pretty much an unlimited amount, and or you can just make one piece per email, which is what I've done with a few, just to test it out. I think it's important to not commit to any of these programs because they do such drastically different things, to be able to explore your options and try, different mediums, in this case, different mediums of AR. So Artivive is that marker-based AR. That's where you upload an image, those four corners will identify the object, and the video will transcribe over that image. It's very simple. As you can see, it's literally drop image here and then drop video file here. In the past workshops, we kind of broke down how to set that art up, and after the presentation, we'll be going through it from start to finish with an art piece. So one of the most amazing things about Artivive that I feel like I've brought up a few times throughout today is the accessibility. Artivive requires that you download their app, but once you have the app downloaded, any image that has been uploaded to Artivive, it will recognize. So that makes it very convenient, especially for Streetwise, for example, where we want to create this seamless experience where you go from one mural to the next and are able to see them animated. Imagine if you have to go and scan a QR code and the QR code's not scanning right, every single art piece down an alleyway, it's going to be more annoying than fun. So with Artivive, if all of the images are uploaded in through Artivive, you're able to go from one image to the next. And their response time is pretty much under a second, depending on what quality of phone you have. A little later, too, I'll actually pull up the few examples of Streetwise murals we've already done, so that everyone will have a chance, including the people here in Zoom, to point their phone at it and check it out. So if you don't have it already, look up Artivive on the App Store on your phone, whether it's an iPhone or Android. But that Artivive app is what's going to allow you to see all these images seamlessly. In terms of like conveying this to your viewers as an artist, you want to make sure that you don't confuse the people you're working with or showing this to. So that's why with Artivive it's very convenient, where it's like you download the app. Once you open the app, you'll be able to see the art, and it's very straightforward. And I think that's ultimately why we've chosen it. So my pro tip is print out a QR code that goes just to the app download. It's like you don't need them to go to your art. Just make sure that they have the app, because once they have the app too, they can click on your art. They'll be able to see the artist name, the title description, and I believe you can even put a hyperlink that people can click on, so that you can put your Instagram or a shop page if you're trying to sell something as well. So Artivive is very convenient that way. And although there is some limited tools, they do have some pretty cool features, like their 3D Pro feature. And I'll actually be going into that, right? Oh, not yet. Just a brief overview again of everything that we were talking about, and some rough comparisons. All these presentations are going to be linked in the YouTube video as well, so if you don't want to sit through the whole video, you'll be able to find just these slides as well and go through them. But yeah, so some things to point out. Artivive, you can make one for free. Luckily all these options, but all these options are free, which is amazing. It's one of the, actually Adobe Aero is one of the only Adobe programs that are free, which is very interesting, but clearly underappreciated because they're not charging for it. So, but then again, these are the big things to look at though, is Android compatibility versus iOS compatibility, which is Apple products. Some of these do not have Android compatibility, so you cut out 50% of your potential demographic because their smartphone will not work. And I might have these wrong. Adobe Aero might only be Android, but that is one thing that I wanted to point out, is like not all of these have exactly what you need. If you're trying to, for example, get a very great shot of a 3D object somewhere, but you're not so concerned about people interacting with it, like you don't need everyone to click on it. Let's say you're just trying to make a really cool video for social media. Like you don't have to consider all that accessibility as much. If that's, it just depends on what you're going to be using this content for. Are you trying to make it accessible? Are you trying to get as many people to view it as possible? Or do you want to use something that looks more high quality and you're just trying to get a great video, or you're out in nature, So these are some great things to think about, like face tracking, geo tracking. Spheroid's the only one on there that does geo tracking. There's a lot of other programs too, I will say, that are not on this list. I just wanted to make sure that I talked about programs that I've actually used, file types that I've actually used, so I'm not just regurgitating things off of a Google search. So, but if you guys have any more information or programs that you think we should add to this list, please let us know. I would love to hear that, and soon we can do for next year we can do a Augmented Reality 3.0. So continuing on, I just wanted to bring up a couple video editing resources again. I know that we had done a whole class on this, but I just thought it would be good to bring up because during the demonstration I will be jumping into After Effects to animate some of these pieces. So yeah, so here's the list. It talks about After Effects, and then also some free video software and resources as well as mobile apps. I'm not going to spend too much longer on this, but please check out the old videos in the playlist in whichever direction the YouTube link will be later.
The one that I'm using that's really good is Canva
Yeah.
for video editing now. It's
So,
great for that.
so you've been using Canva for video editing?
Yeah, and for Artivive as well.
Interesting.
It works really well.
Oh, awesome. See, thanks for the heads up. We're going to have to include Canva into the next round. I use Canva for this presentation.
Yeah.
That's, I didn't think about that. That's
Yeah,
a really
it's
great
great.
option, being able to
Because you
export
can
an
match
MP4.
the dimensions that you need in terms of set up your whatever canvas, and then you can add video to it really easily.
Wow. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but I've done similar things with Instagram with their story mode, where you can drag some videos and some animated GIFs and create some shots. But thank you for dropping Canva in. I'll make sure to add that to our list for the final document. Here, actually, let me see if I have that. I just dropped in the chat. I'll make sure I'll get it to all you guys, but it's the pretty much the written resource doc version of these slides. And that has all the links to all these programs as well. So.
And DaVinci Resolve is like super great. It's free.
DaVinci Resolve is awesome. I personally have not messed around with DaVinci Resolve, but that's one that I've heard a lot of great things about as well.
And it's super high end, but it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I didn't realize it's free.
Yeah, it's free, so it's amazing that it's actually free. I mean, it can be. It's still very intuitive and simple, but at the same time, it's probably outside of like Premiere. It's one of the major Hollywood suites.
Yeah, I've personally been using Adobe After Effects just because it's something we had access to early on. I'm personally a really big fan of Adobe products. The Creative Suite that you can get right there is pretty expensive. It's about $50 a month. And as someone that's tried navigating getting student discounts and using my mom's account and some other things like that, I realized that as a creative, I have definitely gotten my money's worth out of Adobe products. So like, I'm not paid by them, not sponsoring them. I'm just saying, like, it's definitely been worth investing in the Adobe suite and just having access to those tools, mainly because of the amount of resources there are out there for them. Like literally anything you want to do in these programs, there's a YouTube video telling you how to do it. And that's one of the power of Adobe. That's one of the powers of Blender as a 3D software, where there's just so much content available and for resources to figure out how to do what you want to do. Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about 3D stuff at all this time. But we will bring that up in our NFT and metaverse conversation tomorrow. Great. So, so just a little bit more stuff on Artivive here now that we're about to dive in. This is that same exact slide, but I wanted to also showcase the Artivive Pro 3D. And we're going to actually try this today. So this lets you create multiple layers inside of Artivive. It's a very handy tool where it's these two-dimensional objects. And, with MP4s, how do you get a transparent video file? We're going to talk about how to prep that with green screens in something like After Effects. You can do this with a lot of different programs. So we're going to try making a kind of more universal process of how to green screen something out, for example. But as you can see here in this little picture, we have different layers that have a green screen, and then inside of Artivive, they have the ability to remove that solid, they call it a chroma key or color key, where you can remove just one color and it becomes a transparent image. So we're going to show you guys how to do that. And just, it really adds a layer. Rather than a two-dimensional video, being able to turn something 3D is really special. So, yeah, and pro tip here, images might look great on the screen, but can be very pixelated up close. Make sure to start with a high definition photo. I believe this one was 1920 by 2600 pixels, which is a pretty large image. You know, that's I believe it's 2K or more, but still that up close will look blurry. You know, when it's 6 feet wide on your phone. So just to take into consideration, definitely try to start with high quality content. And I've noticed that they do have some basic amount of size that you can have per file as well. So I definitely, you know, don't make a 3 gig video file and expect it to play. Plus, they also will have little pop-ups where if your video or your audio or whatever's over 30 seconds long, they tell you and warn you, like, hey, people's arms are going to get tired if you make them hold their phone up for more than 30 seconds. And it's like, wow, you know, I would never think of that, but, you know, there's a lot of different ways when you think about how people interact with it. It's like, how do I make this the most enjoyable experience? You know, they've got to click on 10 things. They've got to, like, look up, for example, you know, like think about ways that's like inconvenient, like what's inconvenient for your people. And especially when you start applying these 3D effects, you know, you want to be very cautious about how people interact with it. Because if it's too confusing or it's too large and you can't get the whole picture in the shot. So those are all just important things to think about.
But it does loop the video, so yeah.
Yes. And they do have some basic tools where you can turn off the loop, or yeah, you can make it just play one time through, for example, which does help. Let's say you've got some annoying video clip, but you want it to be bright and flashy, and then it finishes. You don't want like this craziness going on nonstop, and then they're just like trying to leave as quickly as possible. So a lot of things to consider. But we're going to show you guys what that looks like. Oh yeah, and then here's another little piece on green screens. There's a lot of green screen effects available everywhere. And this is something that I've been dabbling more with, of like how do you create green screen effects and how do you conveniently find some for your project. Like if you look up green screen effects on YouTube, there are thousands of royalty-free videos with free downloads for all sorts of content, whether you want explosions or flowers or rainfall or snowfall. A lot of different ways that you can easily enhance your artwork with a simple green screen effect. Similar to how you see over there with the Giphy. Giphy is another great resource of transparent GIFs, which are animated image files, and GIFs can be transparent as well. It's what they use. They actually use the Giphy inventory for Instagram, and it's how all the little items and shapes and fun things that you can pull into Instagram, they actually pull all of their images and resources from Giphy. That's how you go and upload to have your own custom branding and stuff on Instagram. You can upload it to Giphy and have it approved through there. Another kind of interesting AR tool. But also Giphy is a great resource for those kind of effects, and we'll probably end up using one. So, great. I think that was a solid hour there of us going through the presentation. Thank you guys all for listening. What I'm going to do now is get set up, and we are actually going to animate one of these pieces. I think I'm going to start with the other one first. This is Greg Deal's piece, but I think we're actually going to start with this piece. Oh, now I got to change my screen deal, and let's go here. Wonderful. All right. So now I should be good to go. Here, I got to duplicate this. Sorry for the wait, everyone. And then
You need 2 screens.
I know, I need 3 screens. Where'd he go? All right. Go, and then, boom. All right. Wonderful. And then let me put myself back in the corner. Sweet. Okay, so for this piece, we're pretty much going to be going through and animating some of the background. Maybe we could take some of these little triangle pieces and figure out how to make them stick out. We can add some kind of 3D effect. Here, I'm going to...
So this is a wall mural.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a wall mural. Where actually is this located?
That one's about 15th Street, closest to a restaurant, so it's right across the water high.
Nice. All right, I'm trying to change these screens a little so I can also see what I'm doing. Extend, duplicate. All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties. And now let's turn on this. Oh, I ruined it. Okay, here we go. Wonderful. All right, so now we're going to be going in and prepping this. The first step is going to be to crop it exactly to the size of the artwork.
And using Photoshop.
And yeah. So right now I'm jumping into Photoshop. GIMP is another great option, but again, like you can do this stuff with some basic phone apps as well. Like you can use perspective tools, Instagram, and even Canva. There have some basic tools as well. Thanks for bringing that up. That's Canva is a very powerful tool, and multiple people can work on the files at the same time.
Yeah.
So, as a collaborative effort, it really changes the game. So I'm going to go and clean this up, make sure that it's tight.
And that picture was taken with the phone.
I think this picture was probably taken with the phone. So now we can go here and actually see image size. That's not very big, 700 pixels. So it's not perfect, but we can go and change this and make it larger. It's not going to improve the quality of the work, but if we do anything else on top of it, it's going to be a little bit better.
Does it have that rainbow thing in the middle? That's part of the image, right?
Yeah. So, so my thoughts of animating this was, let's do something with that dripping pattern and triangles. Clearly there's a lot of cool textures and colors, so it's a way to just enhance that, make it a little deeper, and we can add some depth using that 3D Pro feature in Artivive. So for in this case, I'm just going to prep a couple layers here because we want different transparent layers to kind of work with to make that 3D effect. So the first thing I'm going to cut out using this tool is the whole, oops, my brush is way too small. Come on. Okay, well, this tool isn't working, but the next best option is the selector tool. So I'm going to zoom in a little and just try to zoom through this so I can show you guys. And it doesn't have to be completely perfect, depending on the application that you're doing. If you're trying to cut it out exactly, it's going to be a little harder. Something else that I'm very excited to show you guys that was a big breakthrough for me was you don't want to cover up the whole wall sometimes. How do you make it so it's not just a video? How do you make it so that the wall exists there and then there's just stuff on top of it and adding to it rather than completely replacing the image? And the first couple AR pieces I did, I covered up the entire thing. And it's okay, it looks great, but it's not the actual mural now. It's just a video that was made. So being able to incorporate the actual real mural in the background using those transparent layers, I think it helps explain to people that layer. You know, you're adding these layers. You're not changing the artwork completely. And I think it's a good visual representation. Okay, so.
So for this stuff, I use the Canva remove background.
Yeah. See, I'm a little old school. I'm not all app savvy, and that's and you know, it's definitely, there's a lot of personal preference into what tools. Yeah, like there's definitely a lot of background removal tools, and maybe I'm just a dinosaur with some of this software, because there's definitely much faster options for this. But I just want to show you guys, even without the apps, you know, it's like, how do you just cut it out? Straightforward. So now I've got my first piece, and if I see here on my layers, you can see that I've got this character in 3D, or cut out. So now let's just maybe grab a couple of these triangles and include those as well. I'm going to press Shift and be able to keep adding some more. So yeah, and you know, you want to just be able to find some elements. Oops, I messed that up. Alright, so Control C, Control V. Now, you know, I've got some of these floating shapes. So I'm going to go through and just grab a couple more here. And then from there, we're going to pipe it right into After Effects. And then we get to do a couple cool tools. I actually downloaded some green screen effects just so we can play around with those, and I can show you guys what that looks like. So I'm just going to keep adding a couple more here. And what I'm going to do is make these little triangles stick off a little bit from the wall. That way, and then we can do 2 layers, and then also have the face and head stand a little bit off the wall. So it creates a 3D impression of the mural, really, you know, brings it to life through some very simple layering processes, you know. So let's keep going here. Doesn't totally have to be perfect, but I would definitely spend a little more time on all of it than I am. But again, even just with some simple shapes, we'll be able to add some more cool effects towards the end. So here, let me just get a couple more here, and then we will call it. So I'm going to get some small ones as well. Right here. Get some more small ones. And then do that right there. So Control C, Control V. Let's add all these. So you can see now we have these little triangles floating around, and we'll actually utilize this layer in a couple ways. So now we have the floating pieces, now we have the face, and we have the background. So we're going to take those parts and start incorporating them in. So let's go and hide the face. I'm going to export this as some triangles. Again, if you're doing this in some of the app programs, for example, you know, it's very straightforward to take these items, remove the background. The important part is the file management of, like, you know, how many pieces do you want to put in? How are you going to organize that? And especially on a phone, it's a little bit more complicated organizing and storing your photos and files as it is on a computer. So really, I would spend some time and energy to make sure that you're doing it in a way where your files are easily accessible, or else if you make all these layers, it can definitely get pretty chaotic. So here we're going to go to...
And I think Artivive is 6 layers.
Yeah, so you can do, I believe it's 6 photo layers, but you can only do up to 3 additional video layers, or maybe 4 video layers. So they do have some limitations. You know, you can't do 100 video layers. But so Streetwise, and then we're going to go to tutorial, and so we'll save it here. We'll do Jody, and file management is important. I'm going to try to label things properly this time while I'm here. So Jody triangles, we'll just do that, and then we're going to go over here, hide all those, and we're going to do export as PNG, which is a transparent file. And then we're going to do Streetwise tutorial, and we're going to do Jody face. Okay. So now we have these certain parts, and we're going to prep them in Artivive. Normally I'd bring this into After Effects, and then that's where I add some basic animations for the 2D layers. That's when I can make the triangles move, or in certain cases, different effects where I'm trying to get it all in the video file. But in this case, I'm just going to use some images to create that depth, and then maybe after we could put in a green screen effect at the end. So what we're going to do now is go to Artivive. Let me just make sure, yep, I'm good here. Okay, so we're going to log in. So logging into the bridge here, and I'm already all set up. We've actually, here's all the murals that Streetwise has already uploaded. And that's something I actually wanted to do with you guys real quick. Before we get into this, I want to show you these 2 murals that we have already done. To give you a brief example. So we're going to go to Graphics, Streetwise, Tutorial, and okay, never mind. I might have to wait. Sorry. All right, we're going to just upload it right to Artivive first. That way you guys can see all of them once we're done. So we're going to go up to here, and we're going to go create add artwork. So very simple system. You just drag the image, and in this case, oop, that's the part I forgot to do. We just need the base file. This is what the actual marker image becomes. This is what it will identify. And it's actually fun. I've been able to do an activation where I was able to create the AR content first, paint the physical piece, take a photo of that, and then in real time upload that photo as my marker piece. So you don't need to have the finished piece to create the marker. You can make the artwork, photograph it, and then upload it right then and there. We're able to paint the painting from scratch and have the AR content done by the end of the night. So
But you have to have the entire image in your screen in Artivive to be able to activate it, right?
Yes, but it's a little strange. Like, I know I said that, but there are you have to have a component of the piece. It needs to be able to find the image first, but then you can kind of zoom in, so you don't need all four corners. But the second that you're like too close and it can no longer tell what art piece it's looking at, that's when it'll kind of glitch out. Or if you turn away and it's not in the shot anymore. So I've wondered about that. Like, oh, does it always need to be in the frame? It does not. You can zoom in on details and things like that. Okay, so we're gonna save this. Save this one as a JPEG. Tutorial. Okay, wonderful. So we're just gonna save large file. Perfect. So now let's jump in and stick this image. Okay, so now we have our base image. We're going to want to go to the 3D Pro section over here. If it will let me. Oh, I might need to name it. Okay. Might have to upload something, so right now we're just going to do that. I'm just going to choose a random effect just so we can get this thing set up. So it takes a little time to process sometimes. Yep, well, let me try that again. Some of the software is kind of new too. That's what's interesting. Is like they come out with new features and things almost every day, and so oh well, it didn't like any of what we just did. So let's try it over. Wonderful. Okay. So now we have the piece in this 3D software. This is what the 3D Pro looks like. And it pretty much, creates this three-dimensional plane where then you can incorporate objects in different angles, different positions. So in this case, we're going to go and upload the face. Not enough memory. Okay, maybe my images are a little too big. So we're gonna have to scale some of these back a little bit and start that over again. So image size 20 megabytes. Okay. Yeah. Here, let me export this and compress it. Yeah, 20 megabytes. It's huge. Okay. PNG, and then we're going to do smaller file. That should bring it down pretty drastically in size.
Like 1.9.
I was hoping that it'd refresh again, but I'll take that. I'll take 1.9. That's not bad. My computer's like struggling right now.
The size have to be PNG, right?
The transparent files, yeah, they need to be a PNG. Yeah, like I don't think you can do the green screen effect on the images. I think that's only on the video in Artivive. Some weird little technicalities, it's like there's a lot of steps like that. Okay, so exports. Let's go tutorial. We're gonna.
And Canva does transparent.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's very handy.
But I think it might be on the paid version.
Yeah, you do need the Pro version to export as a PNG in Canva. The Pro for Canva is also totally worth it to our viewers now and later. They've got a lot of amazing tools. It's great being able to share resources with other people.
And can I just say, if you're associated with a nonprofit, Canva is free.
Here's one, right?
What? I was gonna say I'm paying for it. What?
Yeah.
So you heard it from the best.
Canva is free. So
Canva is free if you work with a nonprofit.
All web-based? Yeah.
Yeah. Canva is an amazing tool.
you just
So,
have to sign up with your nonprofit ID and
Email,
and
yeah.
there's a limitation of how many users, but it's great.
all right, so I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna try to upload my reduce face. Nice. Okay. So now we have this object. And this is a pretty standard like tools for 3D management, up, down, left, right. But now we've got this object as a transparent layer, which is awesome. So we're able to go here and let's just extend that out a little bit like that. And then let's go and add another layer. I think I might have to do these triangles again, but let's see. Got it. All right. So we're going to go and fix that real fast. Make this a little smaller. Export.
Is Streetwise a nonprofit? Oh, yeah. It's great.
Awesome. And see, and this is where those limitations come in. Like I wanted to make it as big as possible, but now I'm dealing with some file size constraints. And especially with video, I feel like that's where it gets really out of control really fast. 3 megabytes is not that much. But also, I think that specifically has to do with the Pro version. The 3D Pro is different than their regular one. I think they have a larger file capacity for just their single layer system, rather than what we're trying to do right now, which is like add all these transparent layers. So there's some things that are more efficient than others. Wait, no, let's, how big is it going to be? Oh yeah, that's a great size. 123 kilobytes. What happened? What did I do wrong? Okay, tutorial, and then we're just going to rewrite over these triangles. I'm glad you guys get to see some of the parts I probably wouldn't bring up in the presentation, which is like, oh yeah, these files are way too big. So if you're an artist that's going to do a project for someone else, and it's like, yeah, we put in the whole video, we put in the whole movie, you know, just be very considerate of like how you are making promises. All right, there we go. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to go over and insert the triangles. Okay, so those popped up. It gets a little out of control sometimes when you're trying to manage all these layers. I want to make sure that I'm grabbing the right layer here. There we go. Okay, so now you can see I have these triangles that are floating and loose, and I'm going to try to put one right here. And it's a little lackluster for right now, but that's why I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm actually going to rotate it around. So here there's some rotation tools. I'm going to go and rotate these triangles around to the other side, just so we got a couple more things going on, you know. There's ways of just like, especially with the amount of content and time, you know, you don't want to sit there and spend all your time cutting out all these little triangles, you know. So just some ways you can help streamline your process and add some more layers.
Did you say there was 3 maximum of those?
For photos, I believe it's 6, but for video files, it's only 3. So here, as you can see, I'm able to do that. I want a couple more triangles. I want to add some more stuff here. So I'm going to go and duplicate that one more time. And then maybe even change the scale a little so that it's in a different place. Yeah, and then it's like the background image is only what's going to be recognized. So right now it's transparent, so it's literally just the floating triangles, and it's a little hard. I wonder if I can hide it or something. Oops. I don't think I can hide it. But anyways, that background image does not exist right now. We haven't actually put a base layer, which I think is great, because what's going to happen is the original artwork is going to be behind it. You're not just projecting the same art on top of itself. We'll show an example here very shortly when we upload it. So actually, let's just do that. Now that we've got this kind of 3D piece, we've got some parts floating around, I think it's a great start. One of the cool things about Artivive too is once you've uploaded it, you can actually go back and edit it. So if the layer doesn't look right, you can change it out. Some of these other ones, like Spark AR, once you go through the approval process, it's in their queue, there's no fixing it, there's no nothing. And then they approve it, and you honestly can't even get rid of it. It's there forever. So, you know, the fact that you can come back in and adjust things is huge. So now,
this would be interesting to rotate the face piece as well. Not necessarily in this one, but like the flower go on the other side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And same with the rainbow stripe. What's interesting with this, like you could do a rainbow stripe that's like 100 miles tall, and when you get in there, it'll be like, I think there is some proximity things where those are some things that you might have to set in the program, or they don't have allowance for, like how large items can be, the distance, your viewing distance of like how close does it need to be for you to actually see it. Sometimes that happens when you have something that's too large. You're like inside of the object, or it's so far away that it might be this big in the sky, but it's just so far away that it doesn't let you see it.
And also, once you take your camera off the image, it may lose it, right? So
yes.
If you go up too far, it'll lose it.
Exactly. That's a great point. Okay, so now let me just name this. I'm going to do Jody in remote. Perfect. Save. Hope it doesn't crash on me. There is a little bit of time, usually almost every time. There's like a couple minutes, sometimes up to a couple minutes. One of them happened almost instantaneously though.
Sometimes they take a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to do one over a billboard. I was trying to take a billboard that's all around Denver and then replace it with some of my own sayings and words. And I think something must have flagged their copyright deal, or you know, like you can't do it with street signs, you know, any like vehicle signs, any emergency signs. Like there's some very specific things that I think they probably have some kind of like AI program that kind of just roughly identifies stuff. It's like, oh, that's too close to a stoplight, flag. So there's some certain things that you cannot post. I think it's the same with like sexual content, inappropriate content, foul language. Like they have a system for flagging. So right there, we've got relatively low recognition right now, but it is ready to go. So what I'm going to do is let's pull up the art piece right here, and we should be able to try to do full screen. Tab. There we go. So now, if we point our phones at that with the Artivive app, I think it should work. So yeah, you'll have to open up the Artivive app. For anyone here who's on the screen also, let's just see how this works. Yeah.
Oh my God, these kinds of videos and photos. I'm not going to work.
Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Is it working for you guys?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's starting to work on mine.
Oh, there it goes.
What's the brief?
Hard to see it.
Brief everything for process.
Nice. Yeah, so it's a little hard to tell. Maybe if you guys want to like come over to the side, but you'll be able to see the
triangles are floating out.
yeah, the little
I thought you
floating
didn't put the
triangles.
background in there.
Well, so the background isn't in there. It's
Oh, that's right.
so
It's actually
yeah, so
the mural.
which is better than like
Oh, okay, yeah.
the image on top of it kind of glitching out.
Yeah.
If you hold your hand in front of the camera, you can see the triangles on the
Oh.
edge.
Nice. Yeah, so we just did this pretty quickly. Like right now that we see what it looks like, it's like, okay, more triangles. Let's do maybe a little farther off the wall.
The other thing you could do is make the background the whole thing without the face on it. That
Yeah.
would make the face show up better.
Yeah, so there's another effect that I wanted to try. And this is where the green screen comes in. And I want to show you guys an example of what it looks like to like take a simple effect or something and plug that in. And maybe that can help us distinguish those layers a little bit more. You also want to consider that when you're putting it together, it's like, imagine it when it's 12 feet tall. You know, if your image is like 4 or 5 feet away from your painting, it might look a little weird on a screen, but when you're in person, it might be a little hard to get back far enough away to actually get the full shot. So that's a really important thing to think about. The first time, I set it about 10 feet, and it's like I couldn't get far enough away.
Or like people could walk into a road or something back up into
Exactly, yeah. So you want to be considerate of where the viewer is standing to observe the piece. So let's go into the Artivive here, and you can see right here. So we're going to go to Edit Artwork.
So you will have in the case that the work is not out there in the physical space, we still wanted to start the animation. You can just do it with sketches and things like that, and how
You can actually do it from a photo on your phone. If you have two phones. You hold one phone up to the photo on the other phone and animate.
Yeah. So same with the like image artwork to be recognized.
Okay.
Like let's say you want to start setting it up and testing out your AR filters, but you haven't even painted the artwork yet.
Yeah.
You know, like you could do a rough sketch and then, figure out how you want to animate it, make your cutouts. Like a lot of what we've taught is how to start with existing murals and animate them. But let's say you've got some cool digital art that you want to bring to life and then you want to paint that. Like that's something that I did, and here I'll pull it up.
So in the case of the Streetwise, this is not, it is expected that artists will do the animation after the installation of the
Or during.
or during.
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, that's what I was always trying to juggle. It's like, how do you paint something but also make it AR in the same period of time? Normally it's like, okay, make the piece, you go home, you cut it out, you make these transparent layers, that's what we're doing right now. But let's just say you started with the concept sketch of the mural. If you know where things are roughly going to be in terms of layout and placement, like for example, this was my example. Like I created this in Blender and in 3D with these different 3D software. I created the shot and the scene and everything first. Then from there, I took a screenshot of that and I actually painted it. And I wanted to get as close to the artwork that I'd made the first time. But it wasn't perfect. So I was trying to use this to like trigger the artwork, but it wasn't working. And that's why during the event, I took a photo of the mural, even with this white lighting on it and everything. I was struggling to identify the model that I made, but it could easily identify what I just painted. So here's a slightly different process where I wasn't freeform painting. I was trying to paint exactly what I had designed earlier. But from there, just having the similar geometry, layout, just knowing where it was going to be at, that's where I was able to then add this next step. This is Spark AR. For the record, this is where I can import a 3D object in, but I used the marker-based system that Spark AR offers, where it identified my painting and then projected the 3D object, in front of it, similar to what we were just doing with the triangles, spacing it a little farther out. So,
but in this case, it's a 3D instead of a flat.
Exactly. So one of the perks of Spark AR, but again, not nearly as convenient and as accessible as Artivive. And then, we're able to also then take that and 3D print the model that I had built. So it was a really fun way where it's like I took an idea and I was able to paint it, animate it, turn it into an NFT, 3D print it, and just this was an idea for me to create a showcase of how you can utilize the technology for taking a concept and putting it through all these different mediums.
Really cool.
So, and this goes for our one of one NFT claw machine that's at our gallery in Denver, where you can actually win NFTs there.
What's the gallery?
So we run IRL Art Gallery with Annie in there. She's I don't know where she went, but Annie's the founder of IRL Art, and it's an artist collective across Colorado and now across the world. We've pretty much just been facilitating artist projects and as well as maintaining our physical gallery space. And we have a team of about 6 people that's pretty much full-time that do all sorts of different projects, but we do a lot of commission work for different organizations. We facilitate a lot of events, activations, and organization. Just like these workshops, is something that as a collective team we all work on together. So IRL Art, actually, let me pull that up on the slideshow. So here are some amazing resources for IRL Art, and these will all be in that Google Doc. I'll make sure I'll send it to you guys before you guys leave. But we have a lot of amazing resources through IRL Art. You can also find them on irlart.com. But over pretty much since the pandemic, a lot of us have shifted gears as creatives who worked in festivals, did operations. A lot of those opportunities for both the artists and the clients as well ran out, and we had to drastically shift gears from the in-person events. And that's really why we've been digging into a lot of the digital art world as well as crypto and NFTs, which really enabled us to not have the need for physical spaces, meeting in person, and it just really opened up people's ability to work and communicate and team up. And that's why we've been educating ourselves and putting out educational resources about all these tools, even just in our small circle, and some local artists as well have become extremely successful off of these communities. They're not just tools, they're whole communities out there that are utilizing these tools to connect with each other distribute wealth as well. So not only do we have a lot of resources on everything that I've been talking about, AR and Photoshop and different kind of programs for managing your artwork, but we've also got all these resources for NFTs, as well as the metaverse, which is another big component that we're going to be covering tomorrow. And
can anybody join that?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll have, similar to what we did today, we're going to have an in-person meeting at the IRL Art Gallery in Rhino. We, I think the address and everything is on the flyer on Streetwise Instagram. So if you guys would like to sign up for that, I'll go to the Streetwise Instagram and go check the link in their bio. And we'll be covering all the topics around Web3 with Annie Stardust tomorrow, who's the founder of IRL Art and definitely the one who's been steering the Web3 ship for our community. So I'm very excited to share all that with you guys. So I guess.
Will that also be recorded or on
Yeah.
Zoom?
Yeah, so we're going to be recording all of that and putting it all on YouTube as well in our playlist. We've been on it. We've been doing good. It's like round 4. We've all got them up on YouTube. We'll figure out closed captioning eventually. That's expensive.
Doesn't
I know.
YouTube have automatic?
Yeah. It's like,
Especially for this probably content.
Yeah.
I haven't checked yet, but they say it takes up to a month to have it CC'd, and even then, it's not perfect. And you can ask it to reevaluate the video. So there's just when we go and do the next uploads, I'll go and double check all that and see where it's at. So, well, sweet. Yeah, let's just if anyone has any questions, let me know. But I'm just gonna keep adding some stuff to our image here. I wanna add another effect. So one thing I thought of was bringing in some water droplets, because there's kind of the drippy pattern on there. It's like, how do we kind of activate the features that are already in the piece?
Or the triangles coming down.
Yeah, or the triangles coming down. That would be great. So some of these programs, you can actually animate the parts within them. Like here, I could be able to animate the triangles to go forward, back, up, down in the program. Artivive is not that advanced, so it doesn't have those kind of animation tools inside the software. That's where you would do that in some kind of 3D software, and then upload that 3D model that has animated data inside of it into a program like Spark AR or Adobe Aero. Those are the ones that handle those 3D file types. This only handles video files and photos. It doesn't handle Artivive. You cannot import 3D models into it, so it's a little bit more specific. But again, because of the convenience and accessibility, it works perfectly for what we're trying to do right now.
So I use Canva for doing the simple animations because Canva has some like slide in kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and actually, let's do it in Canva. Why not?
I was trying to do it.
It's pretty easy.
Okay, let me go to, if I'm on the IRL Art account, I think I have the Pro access. It's so confusing. I've accessed too many. Okay, so let's just do custom size. So before we do custom size, let's actually go over here and get the properties and see. Does it tell us? Oh, I can just actually details will. Oop, where do you?
The details tab.
Okay, so we're going to do 5,000 by 1419. So let's go back into Canva. And then 1419. So that's the size of our mural now. So what I'm going to do is I have a green screen video that I've already found and I was messing around with. Let's go to my videos. Right here. So I've got this this video file here.
Oh, drop it.
Yeah, but that's like way too big. So let's trash that. I'm going to, because the face is going to be right in the middle, if there's a seam, we're going to hide that right behind the head. So what I'm going to do is duplicate that, and then maybe can I crop flip horizontal. Perfect. So now we'll have this mirror effect. I don't know if I can get it to play like that, but now I can go to share and download. Yeah, so this is the crazy part. It's like instead of doing it all through After Effects or even Photoshop, here you can create your transparent background. You can, and then right here, see file type. It's giving me all sorts of options. I can export that as just a straight image of probably the first frame, or I can export MP4 video, which will probably play both videos at once and then play until the end, I'm guessing. Probably. So yeah, so we're going to go to MP4. We're going to press download.
Maybe too long, about 36 seconds.
Oh. Here, let's just see it's downloading. And then, oh, you might be right here.
Do the where you can see the slider at the bottom. Yeah. And then you can just shorten it.
Oh, that wasn't it. Oh, so I guess it's at the top. Okay, so let's just cut this in half, and then we'll do the same for the other one. Why not? Okay, so we're just going to crop those. I think it hasn't downloaded yet, so let's just download this. Well, we'll get one of them. So yeah, it's like we just create a very simple green screen background. And my idea is like we can either overlay this right on top of the art, but in this case, I want it to look like the water is coming down on the real physical mural. I feel like it would be an interesting effect. Also, when you're starting to use animated effects, some are a little too much. They're a little overwhelming, or it's just so fast that the Artivive app in your phone doesn't pick it up very well, and it's like kind of glitchy. So you want some things that move a little slower and smooth, or they can be kind of jarring, or like epilepsy warnings, things like that. You got to be a little careful about what people
Like
accidentally
flash,
open up on their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's like wow, really, but it's real. I mean, the last thing you'd want to do is someone out for fun trying to see some art and then get hit with something they're not expecting. So yeah, that's rough.
I wonder if that's what Artivive checks for. Maybe.
Definitely, that's another thing that I think that they put. Yeah. All right. It says downloading, but we'll see. Hopefully, it's not too large. Let's see, downloads. All right, they haven't come in yet. But while we're waiting, we'll jump back into the Artivive bridge. So we still got plenty of space. So let's maybe make some more triangles while we're here.
Well, can I show you how to do the triangles in Canva?
Yeah.
How we nice to see
If you upload that
Nice to
image.
see that.
Here, let's just I'll just create a new one here, just so I don't mess around. And then let's upload tutorial.
No, you just want the triangle one.
Oh, just the triangle one. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can do, I think you have to turn it into a slideshow.
Oh man. Oh, when you're.
Oh, yeah, just the
When you're
animate at the top.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So animate.
And then you have all those standard effects, which is all I use.
Yeah. So here we need pop. Oh, I think I set it as the background here. Let me just drag. Okay. So here we can go to animate, and
Yeah.
I
so-
like the breathe one. Yeah. Let's use
Yeah.
that.
Can you use Canva to crop and make different layers? Or?
Yeah, I do each layer in Canva as a separate slide, and then I just export them separately.
And you cut it in Canva and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, if you have the Pro, you can do the remove background and
Okay.
all that stuff.
Yeah. I wonder if I created this on my Pro account.
That's really good.
Dang it, it's so confusing. All right, well, we did get that MP4, so let's, yeah, so the effects are pretty interesting, and as I heard there's other packs that you can buy for other effects.
I don't know about that. I think it's all standard once you get the Pro version.
That's what I thought too.
And there's also music and there's sound as well, and there's videos with green screen stuff, I think.
Yes, they do have a green screen collection, which I've seen. But yeah, so in this case, now we have, let's see if it plays right. We have our dual-sided green screen that we're able to, wow, I need to start using Canva more than After Effects. After Effects takes a while. I will say though, it's like, depends if you have internet. Where I used to live down in southern Colorado, not very bad internet. That's why it was really hard to use Canva, just because like nothing would load, nothing would open. You'd upload something, and you'd sit there and wait for an hour. But if you've got a good internet, yeah, I'm a big fan of Canva. Okay, so now let's go back to Artivive, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our green screen layer. So clear some of my downloads.
Oh, it's in there.
There we go. Okay, so my computer's just a little slow. Okay, so now we have this green screen in there. What we want to do is remove the actual video file. So here we're going to go to transparency. Yeah, so let's just change this color real fast so you guys will see it. Is that popping up? Come on. Okay, so you guys can see it here. What we're going to do is we're going to select this green color right over here. So it will pretty much remove that green. And now we don't see anything. So see this threshold? Like we might not even want to do this effect at all because
The background is so busy, it's going to be hard to see.
yeah. But you know, the amazing thing with this is we are able to test it out. So what we can do right here, it's like, okay, it might not work. I still see some green, but the way that it ends up in the final product sometimes looks a little different than in the working file. But we can't know until we try. So that's where it's like, I think being experimental, not always expecting the final result right up front is important. It's like, I want to add drips, but it's like, is that going to work? Maybe, maybe not. It might be worth spending more time making the triangles move around and add water effects. And then, my thought was when I saw it, I was like, okay, the dripping, maybe I could do a cool water effect. And I was like, wait, then I can add the sound of rain or something, and kind of create, add more to the experience, add that extra little layer to it of just like, and make it ambient, It's not playing my favorite song, it's just creating an experience that someone feels something when they see the piece. Being able
Is there
to,
a separate audio or is that from whatever video?
I think you can upload that, but what I would recommend is to put it into the core MP4 video, because then it's just one more file. It's like make your MP4 your base layer. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what that looked like. I'll pull this up again, and we can give her another test. So open up the Artivive app. App is in standby. Can't tell if it's doing a water effect or not. Might
Oh, yeah, it's working.
Looks cool.
It's like
It's
green
really
raindrops.
tiny on my screen. I'm gonna get up closer.
Is it? I'm struggling.
It's kind of hard to see. Oh, yeah, it looks tiny on here too.
Does the raindrops do it?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's like
They're
a,
in there.
A little bit.
it's not side right or something? There we go.
See them on the white
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So again, with something like that too, because of the way the color key works, let's say the green is too offensive, but some of that color still needs to stay. I can do some color correction and change it to a blue screen instead of a green.
Yeah.
Let me see if I could do that.
I was wondering if the drops would show up if they were in, a dark gray or a dark blue.
Exactly. So that's where, let's see if we can do this in Canva.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if they have. Oh, they do. Okay. Tint. Yeah, let's see. Not really. Okay, so now I'll use After Effects. So it'll be 5,000 by 1419. That's one of the things. Like Canva is extremely accessible, and that's what makes it the most convenient thing. Where it's like you don't need all these crazy video editing tools. The fact that you can import videos, mash stuff together, add layers, do that background correction stuff, and then export it is pretty amazing. But sometimes you need some kind of advanced pro feature or something. So in this case, we want to be able to, so let's import our images here, our video. We'll stick that right there. See, there's a lot more parts. It doesn't identify how long the video is. You gotta shorten it yourself, and it's much more manual, some of these programs, but they do an astronomical amount of stuff that you'd never be able to learn all of it in your lifetime. Okay, so right here we're going to go to color correction, and let's go to change color. I don't know, let me just do hue saturation. That's my safe spots. Now we can go and change it, and let's change it to like a blue or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking if the detail elements were significantly larger, so the drips were larger, or because you have to be able to distinguish them from the other texture.
Oh, so we should make bigger drips? All right, yeah, we can try that too. So we can do that right here. Let's just scale this all the way,
Yeah.
and then yeah, we'll just erase that, or not. Doesn't want to erase. I thought I was doing that. Okay, here, delete. There we go. Okay. So sweet. Let's export that. While that's downloading too, I guess I could just go over here and also scale that up and then use a fraction of it. So now we got that. Let's see how it looks. That's probably going to be pretty awesome looking. And then, so just because it was having such a hard time showing up, this is where we can mess around with some contrast, different things to bring out the shadows and the highlights, to maybe make the shapes a little bit more identifiable. So let's let's throw some levels on it. And let's see. I'll turn that up and then okay. I will repeat the question. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just gonna leave that for now. Maybe more brightness? Nope.
I think part of it is the background is so busy, it's hard to see stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, and that's why I was like, how do I do something that's very slight effect without it taking too much away? And ultimately, it's very hard when we're looking at it so small. You know, this is 10 feet taller. That's going to be a big water drop coming down that wall. So I think it's about trying to find that balance. And yeah, sometimes it's just not visible enough. So, so let's try this with the blue screen, which will obviously look a lot better than that green. That's the problem with the green screen effects, is that sometimes it really depends on what program is using to pull out that green color. It's using what's called an alpha layer to separate the two and ultimately cut it out of the image. And whatever program Artivive is using is not that advanced. It's probably designed to work as quickly as possible rather than as high quality as possible. So it's not going to do a perfect job. And that's where it's like you might be choosing something like these raindrops that are way too detailed for it to cut out and make look good. So let's change that. And then we're going to go to tutorial. Rain blue. Okay. A lot of steps. You got to upload it to the Adobe Media Encoder, and then you got to choose your source and your output file. And
So, question. My examples that I mentioned earlier in the meeting, that I was down in Rhino looking at some of the murals down there, would my experience perhaps have been different if I was trying to look at that mural with Artivive and really like the artist's messaging or my understanding of the messaging was not fully explained, so that, you know, like, oh, and download this, it's free, and then you'll see this thing that's happening.
Totally.
I saw nothing.
Totally, yeah. So, I was asked to repeat the question, so she asked.
Good luck.
You know, would it have been a different experience if I was using Artivive rather than some other tool? You know, ultimately, it really depends on what the software is. If people are using just a QR code and it's like a Spark AR thing or something, they have internet access and they've got a decent phone, it should pull up pretty fast, pretty conveniently. Artivive is great because you don't have to scan anything, but you do need to know that if you can't look at some other AR content that wasn't made on Artivive with the Artivive app. only the files and the art that's uploaded into Artivive.
And Artivive makes these little signs that you put next to your art
Yeah.
Okay.
that have a QR code on them, and it says, download the app to get access to the AR art.
Yeah.
So
And
there's, so there's that other piece where the artist needs to message the viewer,
yes.
like, here's how it works.
Yeah, explaining that. I think I had a little pro tip at one point, and that was print out a little QR code that goes to the app download, which is way easier than like scan this, it goes to my art. It's like, oh, if their QR code scanner doesn't work, for example, they can just look up Artivive on the App Store. If they can't figure that out, they probably won't be able to open up the AR filter to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's a good way to also, like, not get people's expectations too high. It's like, download the app, and once you have it, you'll be able to see it. If they can't get that far, then, I don't
Then
think...
they have at least the art in front of them. Right?
Exactly. They still got the art. They'll probably take a video of it or 5 videos trying to get it to work. Okay, so now we're done there. Let's get it uploaded.
I had some people yell at me because
Thank you.
they don't have.
Yeah,
Hello.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me know if, for anyone in the chats here or anyone in the room, if you guys have additional questions and stuff too. We still got a couple more minutes, but we'll hit me up anytime. Happy to answer questions.
What you be wearing? Or
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Cool.
Yeah, Instagram probably is best.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And are you Joseph?
No.
No, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Are you doing the workshop coming up? For Leah? Okay.
Who? I don't know who that is, but I was told I need to meet the people running the workshop too.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay, so let's just finish this out. Let's go here, and yeah, thank you, Ann. So yeah, there's still things I wish I could have added, but the great thing is that I can always come back and edit it, even after it's been submitted. Like on one of my old ones, I can go and fix it. So wait here, let's add the layer. Blue. I didn't realize it's 6:35 already. Thank you guys. I was like, oh Jesus.
I think we are spellbound.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so color. Blue, and let's turn down the threshold a little. See, if we get it just right,
Yeah.
it'll be pretty subtle, That's what I'm hoping to get. So I wonder if there's a way I can play
yeah,
it here.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
That looks great.
I mean, I was wondering
That's
even
awesome.
because the drops read as white, but now I'm seeing them
They
as
have
blue.
the
But
blue
I was
outline on it.
I was wondering about reversing the white to a dark tone so that you would actually see the difference.
That's a very good call too.
You could days could disappear just doing this.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it's like you're always just trying every iteration.
Okay, and I would love to talk to you at some point in the future, like after Streetwise is done. 'Cause I'm guessing you're a little busy with Streetwise right now.
Oh man, yeah, we're busy with a lot of different things all at once.
But I would love to talk to you about using this technology to create some wayfinding.
Yeah. So
Here's this AR sculpture, and here's this set, because we are seriously challenged with wayfinding and signage. But wouldn't it be cool to be walking around the art district and finding things?
yeah.
Oh, Lisa, I want to do an art show, an Artivive art show. I do it for all of my art.
Whoa.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
I do
Send me a
painting.
proposal, like a paragraph and some images. That's it.
Well, I want to get other artists involved.
Cool. Okay.
I don't want to do it by myself.
No, it's
You
better
got me.
if there's more. Yeah,
I'm
it's
down.
better if there's more.
Yeah.
That, you know, I'm saying a proposal, but all it has to be is a paragraph,
Okay,
your idea.
Alright.
all right.
Yeah, cool.
Well,
Cool.
Well, I think we pretty much wrapped everything up. Everyone in here in the room is just chatting. Thank you, everyone.
I've been
Alejandra,
terrified of in-person stuff,
If you have,
but it's way
sorry I
better
didn't
than
answer any of your questions, but if you have any
Yeah.
questions or anything,
Yeah.
feel free to contact me,
I'm just
Yultech, at Instagram or Facebook. And if anyone else here has any questions, please let me know. But yeah, thank you everyone, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the NFT workshop. Oh, you there? Hi there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, sorry I came in a little late. I was at a work meeting, so yeah.
Well, sweet. If there's anything that like wasn't answered, well, you feel free to reach out to me, Yultech, right here at Yultech.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy to answer any more of your questions. And also, we'll be posting these on YouTube, so you'll be able to find them, on the Streetwise page. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I should have turned the dang volume up. Thank you. Have a wonderful night, and tomorrow we're doing another discussion on NFTs in the metaverse, and Annie Stardust, the owner and operator of IRL Art, is going to be leading us through that. So, sweet. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to sign off, but have a wonderful night. Thank you.
I guess I didn't sleep well last night.